Live from Citizen TV, this is Tonight with Sam Gituku.
Good evening. Thank you for choosing Citizen TV on this 30th day of October 2025. This is Tonight, and tonight on Data Point, we're focusing on the lecturer strike that has been ongoing for now 44 days. There has been a few developments tonight, but first we'll also be looking at the numbers at the 6 weeks of the lecturer strike, what this has meant to the learners across the country. We're talking about more than 30 universities who have the questions about teaching. 78% of the students have had no teaching or partial teaching. I'll be telling you about what that means in regards to the data from the Ministry of Education. But also the other thing that we'll be looking at in regards to that lecturers' strike is in regards to where do we go from here. And that is later on Data Point. But also tonight, the News Gang is back as we focus on the latest events, not just in Kenya, but also in the region. But first, here are the top stories tonight.
Second day of unrest, colleges, universities to remain shut as civil servants are ordered to work from home as political crisis in Tanzania deepens. Victory for Inspector General Kanja, recruitment of 10,000 police officers to proceed as court rules that National Police Service Commission has no role in recruitment and training. Trailing stolen SHA funds, 5 suspects, including former SHA CEO Robert Ingasira, charged with defrauding the authorities 17.5 million shillings. Closure after 2-year wait. More kins of Shakahola victims receive bodies for burial.
Our sign language interpreter is Njoki Shige. Now tonight, election-related protests continue to rock Tanzania for the second day, with major towns witnessing day-long running battles between protesters and the police. The Ministry of Education, Science and Technology in Tanzania announced that opening of universities and mid-level colleges, initially scheduled for November the 3rd, has been postponed indefinitely. And as Stephen Letona reports, several people have been arrested with a dusk to dawn curfew still in force.
As Tanzanians continue to wait for announcement of the official results of the presidential and parliamentary elections, protesters took to the streets for the second day to oppose elections conducted on Wednesday. Protests extended to the Kenya-Namanga border stop, with businesses paralyzed as protesting youth lit bonfires and disrupted cross-border traffic.
Pia mama kweli hatumtaki. Mama lazima must go. Aondoke kabisa
madarakani kwa sababu hamna uchaguzi wa kumpigia mtu mmoja kura. Anajichagua mwenyewe. Hatuwezi mtikia Masamia mwenyewe kura. Ni watekaji.
Long queues were reported in Namanga due to the day-long protests.
If there would be any inconveniences in terms of movement of cargo and people, I believe that the officers at our points of entry and exit must be able to advise those who are moving in a manner that then we don't endanger anyone's life.
At the Isebania border, cross-border operations were suspended, with truck drivers suspending their travel to Tanzania following the protests. Several lorries remain parked at the border as transporters opt for a scale down in protest in days to come. Citizen TV has since obtained footage showing how yesterday's protest ran into the night in various towns, despite the government having imposed a dusk to dawn curfew. With the situation getting dire, the Ministry of Education, Science and Technology in Tanzania indefinitely postponed the opening of universities and mid-level colleges initially scheduled for November 3rd. With the protests in neighboring Tanzania leaving the country fluid, the U.S. Embassy has warned all its citizens living in Tanzania to exercise caution as the United States monitors the situation before issuing further directives. International Observers observers have criticized Tanzania's election, saying they were neither free nor fair, citing the muzzling of the key opposition parties and detention of opposition leader Tundu Lissu. Stephen Leto, Citizen TV.
Now, still on Tanzania, human rights activists in Kenya have hailed the ongoing anti-government protests, saying the neighboring country is currently undergoing a democratic reawakening moment. The civil society groups are now calling on the African Union, the Southern African Development Community SADC, and the East African Community EAC to hold President Samia Suluhu accountable for suppressing democracy in Tanzania. Seth Olale reports.
With anti-government protests entering second day in the East African nation, human rights activists in the region say security agencies are using excessive force to suppress demonstrators.
Restore constitutional order in your countries and respect the human rights of your people.
Tunataka serikali ya Tanzania ikome mara moja kutumia vikosi vya usalama kunyamazisha, kugandamiza na kuwaua Watanzania.
Immediate cessation of violence by Tanzanian security forces against unarmed civilians and unconditional release of all detained protesters and political prisoners.
There's many people who are working both to document all of the human rights violations that are happening in Tanzania at this time.
Our leaders are using our money to buy guns and weapons to kill our children.
The civil society group say the Tanzanian elections were not free and fair.
Those were sham elections. It was Suluhu versus Samia. She was competing with her own shadow.
Ule uchaguzi uliofanyika uweze kupigwa marufuku kwa sababu haukuwa uchaguzi ambao Watanzania walikuwa wameshiriki.
The human rights groups are now petitioning the Africa Union, the Southern African Development Community, and East Africa Community to hold President Samia Suluhu accountable for using excessive force on demonstrators who are exercising their democratic rights.
It is time for the African Union to serve the people of Africa, to stop being a club of leaders clinging to power.
Immediate restoration of internet access and all communication channels to allow citizens, journalists, and human rights defenders to freely share information.
The civil society groups announcing that they will mobilize citizens in the country in rejecting oppressive legislations controversially passed by Parliament. Civil society groups have vowed to continue petitioning the government to install good governance on its citizens in accordance to the existing laws. Seth Olale, Citizen TV, Limuru, Kiambu County.
And the latest information reaching our newsroom is that the chief of the Tanzanian People's Defense Force, General Jacob John Mkunda, has warned against continued violation of the law by anti-government protesters who continue to voice objection to the ongoing electoral process after Wednesday's voting. General Mkunda says the military, alongside other security forces, will take legal action against those who break the law.
Vitendo hivyo vilihusisha uharibifu wa miundombinu ya umma, mali za umma na za watu binafsi. Vitendo hivyo ni uhalifu usiokubalika ambao lazima ukomeshwe mara moja. Jeshi la Ulinzi la Wananchi wa Tanzania kwa kushirikiana na vyombo vingine vya usalama vimedhibiti hali hiyo na vinaendelea kuimarisha hali ya usalama nchini. Ndugu wananchi, ikumbukwe kuwa nchi yetu inaongozwa kwa misingi ya sheria ambayo lazima izingatiwe na kuheshimiwa.
And we'll keep our eyes on the Tanzanian situation. Back home, the National Police Service Commission has today been dealt a major blow after the High Court barred it from recruiting police officers. In a judgment issued Thursday, the Employment and Labour Relations Court said that the mandate to recruit lies with the National Police Service, terming the recruitment drive advertised by the Commission as unconstitutional. And as Laura Otieno now reports, the court directed the review of the National Police Service Commission Act and the National Police Service Act to avoid interference with the powers of the Inspector General.
Thousands of Kenyans who are hoping to join the National Police Service following a call by the National Police Service Commission have been dealt a major blow after the court declared the exercise unconstitutional. In a detailed judgment issued Thursday, Justice Helen Wasilwa of the Employment and Labor Relations Court cited Article 232 of the Constitution of Kenya, which prescribes that recruitment by a national security organ can only be done by the organ itself and not any other entity outside it. Further, the court declared that the mandate to train, assign, suspend, and dismiss police officers is a prerogative of the Inspector General of Police, underscoring the constitutional independence of the National Police Service in running its human resource. Buttressing the judgment on an earlier determination of the High Court, Justice Wasilwa indicated that the mandate of the National Police Service Commission relates only to recruitment, appointment of persons to hold an office in the service, and not actual members of the National Police Service. The court also declared Legal Notice number 159 of September 19, 2025 unconstitutional, issuing a permanent injunction restraining the NPSC from undertaking any recruitment, training, assignment, suspension, or dismissal of police officers. Justice Wasilwa further directed the revision of the National Police Service Commission Act and the National Police Service Act to align them to the Constitution to avoid interference with the powers of the Inspector General and for greater national security. Former Kilome legislator Haron Mwau had filed the case challenging the recruitment call by the National Police Service Commission, arguing that the mandate to employ police officers lies with the Inspector General of Police. Laura Otieno, Citizen TV.
Now, 5 suspects, including former Social Health Authority CEO Robert Ingasira, have been charged with defrauding the authority more than 17.5 million shillings through falsified medical claims. The accused Arthur Otula, Rosemary Daraja, Peter Abuna, Robert Ingasira, and Arch Prime Medical Clinic, Oyugis Limited, denied the charges before Chief Magistrate Lucas Onyina. The charges include conspiracy to defraud, falsifying health information, acquiring proceeds of crime, and uttering false documents. The suspects allegedly conspired between October 2024 and May 2025 to submit fake medical claims worth 17.6 million shillings to SHA under Arch Prime Medical Clinic in Homa Bay County. The accused were released on 500,000 shillings cash bail each. Former SHA CEO Elijah Wachira failed to appear in court to face the charges and has been directed to appear in person on the 11th of November 2025.
Fourth accused person to appear before the court for purposes of plea taking on 11th of November this year, when the prosecution will also confirm supply of documents and witness statements to the defense. Each of the first, second, third, fourth, and fifth accused persons who are natural persons is granted bond of Kenya shillings 800,000 with one surety, each in similar sum, with alternative cash bail of Kenya shillings 500,000 with one contact person each.
Now, to matters education, talks have resumed between the striking lecturers and the government in a bid to broker a return-to-work formula. Union officials say the government appears to soften its previous hardline stance and are now offering to pay this 7.9 billion shillings claimed by the lecturers in arrears in 2 phases. The Lecturers Union says they will continue or will consider the offer with its members before making a decision on the fate of the now 44-day industrial action.
Solidarity forever.
As the lecturers' strike entered its 44th day, union leaders say talks to resolve the impasse that had denied students learning are advancing. Owasu and Kusu said the union and the ministry have been holding meetings this week, resulting in a better offer from the government.
You know, initially, they wanted to pay this in 3 phases. We have narrowed down to 2 phases. We are going to consult our members, and the government is also going to consult. So if our members accept, we'll inform the government.
It's only fair that we inform our members to stay put, but vigilant. We give the government this opportunity that they have shown, ready to engage us.
The two unions say they are convening their respective national executive committees this evening to present the government's offer before conveying the outcome to the NDCs to decide on whether or not they will resume classes.
We have agreed to ban the midnight oil. My lines are open. The government has also accepted to ban the midnight oil. IPCCF have also accepted to ban the midnight oil. We are going to solve this issue, two issues, once and for all.
But in the meantime, the industrial action continues.
We have chosen to escalate this particular matter, and we are consulting at very high levels with government. Very high levels with government on how we can expedite the resolution of this particular crisis.
As the unions and government rest towards the resolution of the lecturers' issues, including the new CBA, students in some public universities have taken to the streets in solidarity with the striking lecturers. In Egerton University, they vowed to continue with the strike until their lecturers are paid what is owed them.
Nothing is happening in our country. This is unacceptable, and if you don't want us to learn, do away with education. Sio lazima tusome. Kama mwezi lipa lecturers, kila mtu aende kazi. Tuende tuanze kufanya kazi. We shall never be divided.
Brenda Wanga, Citizen TV.
Strong solidarity forever.
Very passionate remarks by the student there. And later on Data Point, to bring you the numbers of those students affected. More than 215,000 of them have not had a class for the last 6 weeks. Now, to another story. Families of victims of the Shakahola massacre on Thursday continued collecting the remains of their loved ones at the Malindi mortuary. One family received 4 bodies after 2 agonizing years of waiting. So far, 16 bodies have been released to families who are now preparing for burial. Human rights groups say at least 60 victims have been positively identified, while more than 300 bodies remain unclaimed. Citizen TV's Ben Kirui has that story.
It was another heart-wrenching visit to the Malindi mortuary as the family of George K. Okaka arrived to collect the bodies of their loved ones who perished in the Shakahola massacre. Overcome with emotion, the family received the remains of 4 victims, his wife and 3 of their children aged 15, 11 and 6. 5 of Okaka's children were among those who died in the tragedy. Another painful phase awaits him, DNA identification to trace the remaining 2.
Mimi nilikuwa hapa mwezi wa 3, nikaleta DNA kwa ajili ya bibi yangu na watoto wangu 5. Kwa saa hii wenye wamepatikana ni miili 4, bibi na watoto 3. Wengine hawajapatikana.
Okaka recounted how his wife first became entangled in the teachings of controversial preacher Paul Mackenzie in 2019 while they lived in Nairobi's industrial area. Despite moving the family to Makadara in a desperate attempt to break her away from the cult's influence, his efforts failed.
Nilikuwa natoka kazi na natoka kwa nyumba naenda kazi, naye ameshikana na wamama wa ploti wanampeleka kwa hiyo kanisa. Wakati niligundua nikamtoa mahali alikuwa anaishi nikamleta pande ya Makonge ya Makadara. Kumbe tena branch nyingine iko Makongeni.
He says his wife later fled their home in Kakamega in 2023 with the children to join Mackenzie's followers in the Shakahola forest where they died.
Nilirudi kwa nyuma nikapata amechoma ID, amechoma manguo, ameenda. Wakati alienda nikapiga simu kwao, tukasaidiana kutafuta tu kupata, lakini mimi akili yangu ndani nilikuwa nakumbuka walikuanga bado ule mtu alikuanga anawafuatilia juu kuna msichana walikuanga anaongea na yeye kwa simu.
Now a grieving widower, Okaka hopes the bodies of his 2 remaining children, a 4-year-old and an 8-month-old, will also be recovered. 3 families managed to identify the remains of their loved ones on Thursday as mortuary teams prepare the bodies for transportation and burial. So far, 16 bodies have been released to families. Human rights activists are urging families with missing relatives to come forward and provide DNA samples to help speed up the identification process.
Ile miili ambayo iko hapa haijachukuliwa ni miili mingi sana. So far we have about 60 bodies ambazo DNA imematch. We have more than 300 bodies ambazo hazijakuwa identified.
Process hii ni muhimu kwa sababu ile kesi ambayo inamkabidhi Mackenzie ni lazima iwe na majina ya wale watu ambao walikufa katika Shakahola, kwa sababu hatuwezi kuwa na case tu ya anonymous bodies ambayo zilipatikana Shakahola.
The exercise is expected to continue on Friday. Ben Kirui, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
At the same time, a family in Kitale, Trans Nzoia County is in anguish following the disappearance of their kin. The family of Caroline Mukeira Josh is appealing for information on the whereabouts of their kin who went missing 3 weeks ago. The family says Caroline, a mother of 3, left home with her husband, never to return. And as Franklin Wala now reports, 2 other families in Nairobi have appealed to investigators to help them trace their loved ones.
At the home of Caroline Mukeira Joash in Kitale, Trans Nzoia County, family and friends have gathered, troubled by the whereabouts of Caroline, who went missing on 17th October. Family says Caroline, a mother of 3, left her home in the company of her husband, but she never returned. On the fateful day, the husband returned home and didn't have a satisfactory account of his wife's whereabouts. When confronted by Caroline's parents on her whereabouts, the man allegedly gave 2 confusing accounts. He told Caroline's father his daughter had disappeared while they were on their way to Kitale town, while he told her mother Caroline had traveled to Nairobi.
Kijana kamweleza ati Karo nilimweka gari ya kwenda Nairobi, nilimpandisha gari na mimi alikuwa amenieleza Karo disappeared wakati alifika kwa stage. Na hiyo kijana sahi hakuwa na shughuli tulipata, alikuwa baada hata kuripoti, hata hakunieleza what has happened.
The husband allegedly never reported the incident to the police until when Caroline's family took up the issue.
Already to go missing for the last 2 weeks, it's very painful for me. Maombi yangu tu akipatikana, I will be very happy.
Meanwhile, another family of 75-year-old Grace Wanjira Kamau is desperately looking for her. Grace disappeared while within Umoja in Nairobi. Several contacts have tried conning her family on claims they had rescued Grace. Grace disappeared on 28th of October.
And she has dementia. She also suffers from high blood pressure. She also has diabetes. So what our worry is, she's not on any of our medication. She went without her phone.
Adding to that list is the family of Mohammed Eden Gerani. The young man was reported missing on the 16th of October while in Isli.
Chake sio mzuri. Mara nyingine ukimuuliza jina lako ni nini, anakuambia Mohammed Siyad, mara Mohammed Eden Gerani. Akona missing tooth. Tunawaomba wote mudirect to the nearest police station or kwa area chief.
His family reported the matter to the police as well. Franklin Wala, Citizen TV.
Our thoughts and prayers to the families affected there. Now we're taking a short break. When we come back, remember I told you about Data Point, and the number that is of concern among others is the 215,000 students who have not had a single class since the start of the strike. These are the students that are in institutions that are described by the Ministry of Education as having no teaching going on. We talk about that on Data Point, including this. Welcome back. It's now time for Data Point. We're looking at the university lecturers' strike in numbers. Of course, it's been 44 days since the 17th of September when the lecturer strike started. Let's take a look at the numbers, starting with this enrollment in these universities. According to the Commission for University Education, the learners that were in public universities were 469,688, which is about 75% of the entire student population in public universities. There's another 10,700 excuse me, who are in public university constituent colleges, accounting to 1.7%. Now, for those learners that are in private universities, you're talking about 144,000, which is about 23% of the class. So you can see the majority of 76.7% are students that are affected by the lecturer strike going on in the country. This is data according to the Commission for University Education in 2024. Let's take a look at what else has happened, because the difference between that data and now is the KCSE cohort of 2024, when more than 900,000 sat the examination, 244,000 plus are Kenyan citizens who scored C+ and above. But when it came to the placement, about 162,000 are students that were assigned to public universities. Understandably, these are learners who should have joined university between the month of May and the month of September, meaning they might be affected by the strike being in their first semester or second semester. So then the next other thing that we look at is information from the Ministry of Education, which shows that there are different categories of universities at the moment and how they've been affected by the lecturer strike. 12 universities, the Ministry of Education says, have not had teaching during the strike. That is not teaching. Those universities, when you look at the student population, according to the Commission for University Education, cater for 215,000 learners, which is some 45% of the entire university population in terms of students. 13 universities account for partial teaching, or institutions that are conducting partial teaching. Some lessons are attended to, some are not. They are talking about student population of 158,000. That is about 33% of the entire university population. And then there are some 17 universities and constituent colleges where you find full teaching going on, but it only accounts for 22% of the class, because only 103,000 of students are in those institutions. We'll be talking about some of those in the universities, but let's focus on those key universities where no education or no teaching has been going on for the past more than 40 days. Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology has a student population of 44,000. No teaching has been going on. University of Nairobi is the second in terms of student population at 41,000, no teaching going on. Maseno University, the latest numbers are 28,000 students, no teaching going on. Egerton University, 20,620, no teaching going on. Moi University, 17,000 students, no teaching going on in those institutions, according to the Ministry of Education. Now, the next category is for institutions where you find partial teaching. For instance, Kenyatta University, which with a population of 36,000 students, has been having partial teaching. The University of Eldoret, 17,805 is the student population. KCU University, 16,905 student population. And the Technical University of Kenya at 13,600. These are part of the institutions that have had partial teaching going on. But then there are those institutions that have not been affected by the lecturer strike, and full teaching has been going on, according to the Ministry of Education. They include Chuka, Masinda Muliro, Kirinyaga University, and the Open University. Of course, Open University, a new institution with only about 866 students, most of them learning in distance learning arrangement. For Chuka University with 16,000, and of course Masinda Muliro, 24,000. This is some of the universities that the ministry says there has been a full teaching going on. The next item that we look at is the programs. According to the Commission for University Education, majority of the programs or majority of the students in these institutions are pursuing bachelor's degrees. So this is the first degree for these learners at 92%. So that tells you that majority of the learners affected are the young people below the ages of 25, between 17 and 25, the learners that are affected in those institutions. For master's programs, you're talking about 40,959, meaning in the country, it's only 40,000, just over 40,000 of Kenyans that are undertaking these programs in public institutions. Then doctorate programs, we are talking about 8,666 students that account for 1.3% of the entire student population in the universities. And then there's postgraduate diploma at 1,423, converting to just 0.2%. So these are the learners affected at different levels based on where they're admitted, and of course in regards to what the Ministry of Education is reporting as partial teaching, full teaching, or not teaching. Finally, the lecturers that are in these institutions, or the academic staff that are in the public universities and constituent colleges, is just about 10,730. Of course, the total academic staff in the country is more than 15,000, but the balance of that from 10,730 would be in private institutions. that is private universities and private constituent colleges. So you can see that more than 2/3 would be in the public institutions, and that's just how the numbers are looking. Of course, we're waiting to hear from the Ministry of Education on, as well as the lecturers themselves with their unions, as they hold a meeting to consult with their members on whether they should call off the strike or what happens based on the conversations they've had with the Ministry of Education or the government officers. And that's Data Point for this week. Now, at the same time, President William Ruto now claims that he has no worthy competitor for the presidency in the 2027 contest and that he will defeat the united opposition candidate with ease. The head of state, who began his 4-day tour of the Western Kenya region today, also rallied support for David Ndakwa, the UDA candidate in the Malava constituency by-election scheduled for November 27th. Emmanuel Toh reports.
He stormed the Western Kenya region, kicking off his 4-day tour in Malava constituency. Morangwa! Hey, Norangwa! President William Ruto slamming the opposition brigade, saying none of them will successfully challenge him in the 2027 presidential race.
Yani mtu ningeshingana na yeye ni Raila Odinga. Lakini sasa hawa nitawamalizia asubuhi na mapema. Very early in the morning.
President Ruto calling out the united opposition outfit as one that lacked a clear strategy and plan for Kenya other than sowing seeds of division and tribalism.
One term, kasongo, nini, hiyo itabadilisha dunia hii kweli? Sio ni ujinga. Sasa hawa jamaa mimi nataka niwaambie. Hawa jamaa wa ukabila hawana mpango, hawana sera, hawana taratibu, hawana agenda. Hata akili hawana.
Hii mambo ya kusema tunangoja Mheshimiwa Mudavadi, tunangoja Wetangula ati watupatie mwelekeo. Mimi nataka niwaambie hakuna mwelekeo mwingine bali ni William Samoei Ruto.
Jihadhari na watu wa siasa ya chuki. Kuna vijana chipukizi wanafikiri siasa yao akitusi mtu amepata umaarufu. Sisi tunataka siasa ya kujenga nchi.
Sisi hapa Kakamega tuko kwa serikali ya mapana na marefu, yani broad based government. Tutakuunga mkono bako kwa bako kuhakikisha kwamba hiyo mambo ya 2 term inatimia.
Malava Norangwa. The UDA party leader also drumming up support for the party's candidate in Malava constituency, saying he was the ideal candidate in the upcoming by-election.
Munipatie huyu kijana anaitwa David Ndakwa, afanye kazi na mimi, tumalize ile kazi Malulu alianzisha, alafu tuende mbele pamoja. Barabara sasa. The president launched several projects as he seeks to woo western counties. Emmanuel Toh, Citizen TV.
Now, the Democracy for the Citizens Party, DCP, has withdrawn its candidate, Edgar Busiega, in the upcoming Malava parliamentary by-election in favor of DAP-K's Seth Panyako. While making the announcement, DCP Deputy Party Leader Cleophas Malala said the united opposition struck a consensus to field one candidate against the UDA candidate in the November by-election. Malala says it was important for the opposition to head to the November polls united if they are to clinch the seat.
Akose. Akose. Akose.
Now, the Jubilee Party National Executive Council has endorsed former Interior Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matiang'i to be the party's presidential candidate in the 2027 elections. The meeting formally approved his candidature during a National Executive Council meeting chaired by the party leader, former President Uhuru Kenyatta. Milito Letenges reports.
The National Executive Council of the Jubilee Party, chaired by party leader, former President Uhuru Kenyatta, endorsed Fred Matiang'i as the party's presidential candidate for the 2027 elections. Matiang'i was also appointed as the deputy party leader.
We also received formally his application to be the presidential candidate or Jubilee presidential candidate, and the NEC approved, resolved that he now carries the flag of Jubilee Party as our presidential candidate, and even as he goes to the United Opposition, he goes there in that capacity.
Matiang'i's endorsement now paves the way for the party to enter into negotiations with the United Opposition, signaling that former President Uhuru Kenyatta-led party will oppose President William Ruto. This despite President Ruto's claims to have reached out to former President Uhuru for talks. The party insists it remains within the Azimio la Umoja coalition.
Can't quit Azimio coalition, but we are also aware of the reality is that other formations are going on. But we cannot quit Azimio. Quitting Azimio means the members of parliament who are holding various positions within parliament, they languish. So there is a legal implication, and that's why we cannot be in a hurry kupiga kona na kukata mkato hapa na pale.
With the party reaffirming its position within the United Opposition, speculation continues to grow about a potential political pact between former President Uhuru Kenyatta and former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. This move could significantly influence the voting patterns in the Mount Kenya region. The NEC meeting follows the National Delegates Conference held in September, which ratified several key decisions, including the filling of vacant positions in the NEC. This led to the appointment of Nakuru West MP Samuel Arama as the party whip in the National Assembly and Turkana Senator James Lomenen as the party whip in the Senate. Melita Oletenges, Citizen TV.
Now, the Jipange na Viusasa caravan pitched tent in Kiambu County for the second day as Viusasa, in partnership with Royal Media Services, continued with its vibrant grassroots tour to celebrate 8 years since inception. The caravan kicked off in Githurai and made stopovers in Gatundu, Kiamwangi, Mangu and Ruiru, where excited residents turned up in large numbers to meet Radio Citizen and Inoro FM presenters. With 50 shillings, Viusasa viewers get access to captivating content and a chance to win 50,000 shillings daily, $500,000 weekly, and a grand prize of 2 million shillings.
Na kwanza ni kufurahia sana kwa vile Viusasa imekuja huku ikiwa na Inoro TV na Citizen.
Vile nimeona watu wameparticipate hapa, they are serious. Nafikiri wanalenga ile 2 million na ni kujaribu bahati.
Leo tuna mshindi kutoka Ruiru ambaye tumempatia cheki yake ya 50,000. People are really participating. We are excited to meet them, meet our fans. We know the creative industry is the biggest industry currently worldwide, so we really do want to grow this industry even within the Mashinani area.
All right, with that, we're taking a short break here on Tonight. When we come back, we have the business news and sports, and of course later on we have the news gang to take stock of the events in Kenya and the East African region. Stay tuned for that.
Coming up in business, Equity Holdings post strong performance in
Now in business, Equity Group Holdings has posted a strong performance for the third quarter of 2025, with profit after tax rising by 32% to 54.1 billion shillings. The growth was driven by strong regional contributions, improved efficiency, and a rebound in the Kenyan banking business. Here's Jasmine Omboy with that story.
Startup executive myself, I've been
Equity Group's profit after tax rose to 54.1 billion shillings in the 9 months to September 2025, up from 40.9 billion shillings a year earlier.
But that is because of many things. The insurance group has grown, but the biggest contributor was Kenya. Kenya has bounced back, it has recovered, and we are now in a position to focus on supporting our people, and specifically women, youth, and entrepreneurs.
In Kenya, Equity Bank posted a 51% rise in profit after tax to 31.1 billion shillings, up from 20.6 billion in the previous period. Net interest income grew by 27% to 53.6 billion shillings, supported by a 34% reduction in interest expenses to 25.1 billion. Total equity expanded by 36% to 171.4 billion shillings. Regional subsidiaries continued to drive growth with a 19% loan book expansion in the Democratic Republic of Congo and a 34% in Rwanda. Collectively, the subsidiaries now contribute nearly half of the group's deposits, loans and revenue.
We have seen the momentum of our regional branches, subsidiaries, particularly DRC, which is heavy. The small, light subsidiaries like Tanzania and Uganda and Rwanda are punching above their weight. So the future looks very bright because we are a one-stop shop.
At the same time, the bank maintained its lead in MSME financing, disbursing 45% of the 201 billion shillings advanced to SMEs nationwide from January to July 2025. Jasmine Wambui, Citizen TV.
Kenyans working, studying and living outside the country will now be able to obtain global insurance coverage. This follows a tripartite agreement between Old Mutual, Executive Healthcare Solutions and AXA Global Healthcare, who have come together to offer global medical cover solutions for both Kenyans and non-Kenyans living in the country. The move, as Jimmy Mbogo now reports, is informed by the growing number of Kenyans seeking opportunities outside of the country.
The launch of the tripartite agreement between the three players will see clients access 4 tiers of medical insurance solution, where Tier 1 and 2 will cater to customers in and around Africa and Asia, with Tier 3 and 4 catering to the rest of the world.
We now see more Kenyans now work, travel, study, and seek medical care beyond our borders. Through this partnership, we can now offer this customer a single global medical solution that provides seamless access to care both here in Kenya and anywhere else across the globe.
The agreement is set to strengthen Kenya's position as a key gateway for international private medical insurance partnership in Africa, aligning global best practices with new local regulatory requirements.
We expect significant growth because we'll be able to leverage off exclusivity of distribution and claims control costing to make sure that we're the relevant and the most sensitive when it comes to price point and benefits delivery in the market.
Jimmy Mbogo, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
How long is the break? Now in sports, Gor Mahia recorded their 4th straight win on the bounce after a 2-0 win over Mathare United at Kasarani Stadium. Second half goals from Sharif Musa and Bryson Wangai saw Kogalo collect maximum points to jump to second on the 18-team league table with 12 points, just one behind leaders Kakamega Homeboys, who have played one more game. In another match played just across at Kasarani Annex, Murang'a Seals staged a brilliant comeback from 2 goals down to hold Postal Rangers to a 2-2 draw.
Kwake Jerome Bryson Wangai sasa. Jerome bado anayo, anatafuta wa kumpa sasa. Jerome! Jerome Bryson Wangai! Wanageuka kusherekea akiwa anamwangalia bango la Joey.
The Harambee Starlets arrived back in the country on Wednesday evening from Senegal after securing a historic qualification to the 2026 Women's Africa Cup of Nations WAFCON. The Beldino Demba side defeated the Gambia 1-0 in Thiès, Senegal, summing up a 4-1 win on aggregate. Kenya makes a return to the continental showpiece after 9 years, their debut season being in 2016 in Cameroon. The WAFCON 2026 will be held from March 17th to April 3rd, 2026 in Morocco.
Thank God tumesaidia nchi na nashukuru mafan na Wakenya wote wametuombea na president pia venye ametumotivate. Tumeshukuru sisi kama Magalchad ametuonekania pia federation big up. Tumeshukuru nyinyi wote, bila nyinyi majamaa tuwezi.
We saw a big difference between the Gambia that played against Niger and the Gambia that played against Kenya. It's because of good preparation. If we are able to get good preparation in good time, then I believe that we will perform well in the upcoming AFCON.
Nairobi is set to host two major continental basketball events next month: the Women's Basketball League Africa Group D Zone 5 qualifiers and the Road to Ball Elite 16 tournament. According to the Kenya Basketball Federation Secretary General Angela Luchivia, the Women's Basketball League Africa qualifiers will feature 8 teams, including Kenya Ports Authority and Zetech University from Kenya. It will be held from November 9th to November 15th at the Nyayo Stadium. The Road to Ball Elite 16 tournament will take place from November 18th to 23rd at Kasarani Indoor Gymnasium. Nairobi City Thunder, the first Kenyan team to qualify for BAL, will look to make the premier continental competition for the second time in a row.
As Kenya Basketball Federation, we are very excited to have these two championships being hosted in Kenya, because this just affirms the fact that FIBA Africa has confidence in Kenya as a host, as well as a growing basketball hub.
I think the example we're seeing today with Nairobi City Thunder is one that we're particularly proud to be part of. We hope that the athletes here will take this opportunity to pursue their education. What Nexford's able to really offer is a flexible education model that allows people to continue building the skills that they need without having to put a pause on their professional careers.
Newly minted Kenyan teen golf sensation Jacinta Njeri is raring to go at the forthcoming Tokyo 2025 Deaflympics Summer Games set for Japan on November 15th to 26th. The hard-hitting 19-year-old Form 2 student at Ngala Secondary School for the deaf in Nakuru County will represent Kenya in Tokyo alongside the experienced trio of Isaac Mokoha, Gilbert Alikula and Edan Wario. In addition to setting an ambitious target of winning a gold medal at the Deaflympics, Njeri hopes her participation in the Games will inspire more women, especially those with hearing impairments, to take up the sport.
When I go to Tokyo, what my target is to play golf, good golf, and get medal. And also hope the 3 gentlemen, or rather the 4 of us, we can get medals so that Kenya as a country should be proud of us.
I'm working with the golf team, the Deaflympics golf team, and the preparations are going on pretty well. There's still a lot of work to do before the team is completely ready, but I think we are on track to making sure that the team is ready to bring something back from Tokyo.
And a total of 84 golfers from across Africa and beyond are set to tee off in the Masters Golf Tournaments, the 7th and 8th legs of the Sunshine Development Tour East Africa's Swing, taking place at the VetLab Sports Club from November 2nd to 4th and at the Limuru Country Club from 9th to 11th November 2025. The double-header has attracted a strong field of elite amateurs and professional golfers from Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, Malawi, India, and the United States, all competing for a crucial official world golf ranking and all amateur golf ranking points. The Kenyan contingent will feature a blend of the country's top amateurs and experienced professionals led by John Lejirma and Michael Karanga.
Nothing has changed, just been fine-tuning my all aspects of my game
from my longest game to the shortest game. And yeah, I think we're fresh to get in. And coming next week, we are ready.
I think I'm trusting my the process, and I know something is cooking. And as I said, I'm used to play with the pros, and I like challenging them and also challenging me.
All right, it's now about 10 minutes after 10 o'clock, and I don't know how long the break will be, but we'll find out. But as we do so, the gangsters are here. It's half gangsters visiting, or guest gangsters also here. We'll be introducing them as we talk about the situation in the country and the region, from politics to elections. That's what we'll be talking about on the News Gang. Stay tuned, you're back in a moment.